What's going on, guys? We are back with another episode of Talking Ship. Today, we're going to be talking about two ships that I think are going to be essential for cargo runners coming up in future patches, and that is the Constellation Taurus and the Zeus Mark II CL. I think both these ships are fantastic options for running cargo. However, I think there are some things about the Taurus in general that could leave it less desirable than something like the CL will be in the future. Now, both of these ships are going to have obvious drawbacks to using them, which I think is great because I don't think there should be any ship that's perfect. And remember, guys, my opinions are not objective reality. These are subjective opinions. I know that Star Citizen and when it comes to the ships, they can be polarizing, but this is just us coming on here, having a little bit of fun, and talking about the game that we all enjoy so much. So let's get right into it. Both of these ships have tractor beams. The Taurus's tractor beam is currently working in the 3.21.1 patch. I believe it's a size 2 tractor beam, and it works pretty well. But however, one of the main issues with the Taurus in general is the shielded cargo area. You actually can't access that part of the ship with the tractor beam. And to make matters worse, unless you're like actually going to pick up cargo, you can't really get any cargo into that shielded area, especially like the bigger boxes. I mean, you can, but it's a little bit janky. You run the risk of potentially blowing up your ship trying to move boxes into that rear cargo space. Me and my boy Canup have tried this several times, and it's a little bit jank, and it's a little bit hard, and it's very time consuming to get boxes into that back area because you have to figure out a way to get those two back doors to stay open as you're moving the boxes, and that was with two people. So that is something to consider when using the Taurus. Now, one thing about the Taurus is it's not down on its weaponry. It's not down on firepower. It has a ton of firepower. You got the 4.5 size mounts, and they're all forward facing. They all group pretty well together, I think. So I think the Taurus is a potential good option still. It's just that it doesn't have access to all of that cargo, and I think you really need, like, if you're telling me that a ship has a tractor beam, I should at least be able to access all of my cargo points with that tractor beam. And the other issue with the tractor beam is its location. The tractor beam's location is where the lower turret is on the ship, which that's not a bad thing. However, if someone, for instance, they forget to, put the little ramp up right here, the elevator, it does get in the way of you accessing anything into your cargo grid. It can be a potential hindrance. So if you're using the tractor beam, just make sure you have this elevator all the way up. I would have preferred, and this is what I was talking about in a different video, I would have preferred a remote turret at the back, or the snub fighter would have been, so that at least if we're not going to make another elevator to get that other cargo grid in the back to be lowered down, that I have a turret that's in the back that's not that can't be obstructed by anything, so that I can use that tractor beam to load cargo in without potentially being hindered by that. And then it also gives you the opportunity to still have the other remote turret on the bottom. So that was my point when I talked about the Taurus in a different video. But I still think the Taurus is an excellent choice for the cargo runners. If we go over here to our fleetyards.net, we can kind of use this to compare their stats a little bit. The cargo size on the Taurus is 104 SCU, so you are getting much more space than you are on something like the Zeus Mark II CL, which is only 128 SCU. So you are getting more SCU for the price, but some of that storage you're not going to be able to access with your tractor beam. Other things about it, we already know one of the major weaknesses for the Connie is the engines. if they somehow get damaged or you hit something and they fall off, it makes the ship pretty hard to fly. So that is one major thing about the constellation that everybody knows. And over the CL, it's a much, much bigger target. I think, this is kind of hard to say and it's kind of hard to speculate on. But if we just look at how these ships are designed, I would like to see the Connie retain a speed advantage over this ship, even though it's smaller, just because, it does have 4 big-ass engines on it. If you're going to tell me that this ship will be faster than this ship, we can say that due to the power to weight. But when it comes down to just like it having 4 engines versus this one only having 2, I still think that this one should be a faster flying ship, at least in a straight line. The CL can probably handle a little bit better and have faster, roll and pitch and yaw and stuff like that. But I think like in terms of just like straight line speed, I still think the Taurus should retain a lot of that, just because it does have 4 engines, and you don't want to totally make this ship useless, I guess, in a way. But I still think that it still wouldn't be useless just because of the weaponry. You can't ever go wrong with 4 size 5s, and you still can't hold a decent amount of missiles. Not as much as the Andromeda, but you can still hold a decent amount of missiles on this thing. You can put a bunch of size 1s on here still. So I still think the Taurus is an excellent option. But let's look at the competition. You have the Zeus Mark II CL. Let's just move this up here a little bit. Let's move these this way a little bit. Let's go this way. There we go. That's probably a little bit better for you guys to see, right? So we got the CL, and we've talked about this ship before. I put this up against the C1. People didn't like that, and basically my point in that video, and I'll reiterate this again, is those ships are very similar in size, even though they're not in the same kind of league when it comes to like their role. This one's like a step up. But my entire point was, if nothing changes with the length of the ship, it's still, in my opinion, a better buy, just because it's within that same footprint that you're getting more. And that was kind of my only point about it. But does it stack up to something like the Taurus? So let's see. So first of all, we're going to come back here. We're going to look at the specs again. So they're both medium freight ships. The classification is transport. Their size, this one's large and this one's medium. I can potentially see the CL growing like 5 meters in length just to accommodate the rest of that cargo. So if this ship goes around to be around 50 meters in length, I still think that's a decent sized ship. It's not too big. And I think that ships within the size range are going to be, pretty, they're not going to be like, how can I put this? They're going to be the kind of ships that most people will be flying because of the engineering that's going to be coming online. I think people with bigger and larger ships, they're going to not want to fly them, especially by themselves, if they run into engineering issues. I still think the engineering stuff is a long ways off. There's still a lot of balance that needs to be done with that. But for now, we have to kind of think about it in this kind of way. So 128 SU of storage. For a ship that's only, for right now, 45 meters long, that's a lot. That's a lot of storage that you can get into the ship. It's a little bit cheaper in terms of price point than the Taurus. I think the Taurus did go by $5. I'm not sure if this is updated. This one has a minimum crew of one person, so it technically is a solo ship. And the max crew you see is 3 and 4 people. So the thing that I wanted to come down here and talk about was the 3 size 2 shields that you're gonna get versus the 2 size 2 shields that you'll get on the Taurus. So there's a trade-off here. So one of these ships has less shielding but has better weapons, and the other ship has better shields but less weapons. So it all really boils down to on your style of gameplay. I still think the Taurus is an excellent ship to where you can go and you can do things like bounties. You can do you can kind of do service beacons with them. I'm not you kind of you can. It's just unlike the Andromeda, this one really can't take hits. Um, but I still think it's a very good ship to do multiple styles of gameplay. Whereas the CL, I feel like is more locked into cargo running versus something like the Andromeda. So it really depends on your style of gameplay, and who knows what the deal is, going to be with these shields. I'm not sure if they're going to do a full circle bubble shield with this ship, or if it's going to be a front and rear split like we see with other ships in this size range. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see on that. But if it does have bubble shields, I mean, it's still going to have 2 size 4 weapons, and you will still have a turret that with 2 size 3 weapons on it. So it won't be necessarily weak. It just won't have the same firepower as this, which this thing has insane firepower. So does it really stack up? In my opinion, it does. Just because, first of all, you're getting again a smaller ship, a smaller footprint. One thing that I like about the Zeus ships in general is that you have your weapons right here off the nose, and I kind of like that for a couple of reasons. So if you're doing things and you're going to places like doing the outpost missions and stuff like that, you're gonna get a very tight grouping on your shots. So you can essentially just fly in and use your ship to shoot those ground targets a little bit easier. So I do like that. And 2 size 4 weapons ain't nothing to sneeze at. For a long time, I would solo a Hurricane with 2 size 4 weapons, and it was enough to do, HRTs and VHRTs and stuff like that. So 2 size 4 weapons ain't nothing to sneeze at. I don't think it's going to have a bunch of missiles. We can come down here and we can check the weapon stats as we compare. Yep, so it's going to have 2 size 4s. We're going to have 2 size 4 missile racks. So, it's going to have plenty of missiles. Like I said, not a ton, but enough. So I still think it stacks up pretty well. And I think what it boils down to is, what do you want to ultimately do? Do you want to lock yourself into just cargo hauling? Do you want to lock yourself into, or not lock yourself in, but do you want to have the ability to do multiple different styles of gameplay? Now let's talk about something that's been a little bit controversial with the CL, and that is this. So the CL, if you fully load the ship with cargo, you won't be able to access your components. So if you come under fire and you need to access your components, then essentially what you'll have to do is you'll have to remove cargo from the ship to access those components. For me, that's not that big a deal because I feel like the ship has plenty of shields that if you are being attacked, it's going to take them a while to get through those 3 size 2 shields. So you'll have plenty of time to get away. So I don't think that's going to be as big a deal as people make it out to be. And especially against something like the C1, you're going to have more than one egress point. So it's not like you're going to be stuck inside of your ship with all this cargo. You're going to have an exit on this side of your ship on the airlock and a ladder to get down out of your ship. So I don't really see that being that big of a deal, but I know that was kind of polarizing in the community a little bit. Some people were talking and saying, that's kind of a deal breaker for the CL. Let me know if that's a deal breaker for you. It's not a deal breaker for me. And the other thing that I like about the CL versus this one is the tractor beam being in the back of the ship, where the cargo access is. To me, it's I feel like on the Taurus the tractor was kind of a lazy afterthought, and they just stuck it up here, just like, oh well, there's already a turret there, so we don't really have to go in and change too much. So it was an efficient thing for CIG to do. But I really think the tractor beam should be a remote tractor beam on the back of the ship. And then you can give one of those co-pilots something to do because those seats are essentially useless. They don't do anything on the Taurus, and it would be nice to see those other seats get some functionality. So, especially with it being a larger ship, it's just like, come on, like let's keep the turrets for fighting, and let's have the other seats do something. Because on here it says, max crew of 4 people. So why not have an extra person? You could have your pilot, your 2 gunners, and then another person, doing the cargo stuff from one of those remote turrets, or on either co-pilot seat. So that's kind of my thought process on why I don't like the Taurus's current setup. So if you guys are ever wondering or not wondering, that's pretty much it. But all in all, I would probably go for the CL over the Taurus. Let me know in the comments what you guys would probably go for. And I'm not saying the Taurus is a bad ship, because I actually quite like it. Me and my boy cannot use his quite a bit when we want to go like test things and do certain types of missions. And I think, for doing things like bunkers and like all that other stuff, you got a smaller footprint, so it's going to be easier to land places. And I've been rambling on too much. So let me know down in the comments below like what ship you're going to choose, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.